I've been joined by my guests who are already seated. I have on my right Joyce Mogtari, Bawa Mogtari, who is the aide, special aide to the former President Mahama. And good morning to you.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you.
Okay, you have a warm smile as usual.
Yes, and now I can tell the difference. How are you? Very fine.
And on my left, I have Amma Frimpong, who happens to be a very good and old friend. How are you? Amma, good morning.
I'm very fine. How are you?
It's good to see you here.
I can see that I destabilized you a minute.
Well, I didn't actually realize it was you who had walked in, you know. But yes, you did destabilize me for a second. Amma is as part of the government's communication team. Well, it's good to have you here, ladies.
Good to see you, Keku. I haven't seen you in a while.
It's been a very long time. I think the last time we actually saw each other was in Kumasi. Wasn't it?
Yes.
I think it was Ifokobi's funeral.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, that's a while.
It's good to see you. I'm a little bit under the weather, so I have some chamomile and honey here. Courtesy of Mr. Omani, so.
Hey, people are doing things so. Now, I am sitting with Mr. Omani, who has been giving guests nice chamomile tea and the rest. We'll have a discussion after this show.
He has only been kind because I'm not feeling too well. Isn't that lovely of him?
Whatever.
Very, very kind of him.
Well,
even I have actually never been offered.
You've never been offered tea, you see.
Well,
listen, I think we need to have a very serious conversation about what it is that we get for breakfast on this show. Yeah. All right. Anyway, so let's get into our stories already. I'm going to start with Amma. The police have uncovered a fourth body in this ongoing saga. There have been, several things that have happened over the period in terms of the family making statements, the police making statements. We started out, the CID boss came out and said the girls are alive, we know where they are. The National Security Minister also made comments to this effect that the girls are alive, there's nothing to worry about, they will be found and so on. The family are clearly disturbed, because at this point when you're asking for things like DNA tests and so on and so forth, it begs the question, look, if we're asking for DNA tests, are they alive or are they not alive? And then now a fourth body has been found. What do you make of all this?
Good morning, Ghana. I'd like to say a very big thank you for having me here. I'd like to say a good morning to Joyce. I haven't seen her in a while.
Very long time. Good morning, Amma.
Good morning. To the President of the Republic, His Excellency Nana Adudanko Akufo-Addo, and the Vice President, wherever they are, I say good morning to them. The First Lady, who's just been honored with a title in Ada as the Development Queen, Mama Becky, I equal to you. We all know the good work you're doing for Mother Ghana. This unfortunate situation, I've always said one thing, that at some point there was a missing gap. And it's brought about a lot of series of consequences following that. It started with, the main focus started when the CID boss said they know where the girls are. She made the press conference. And from then, the next question was, if you know where they are, why are they not around? Yeah. And no one has given any more information following that. We know where the girls are, and that's it. This is a very traumatic experience for the family. They don't know where the girls are. They are worried. They are asking questions, and all they hear is, sometimes we all hear things on air and we question them. So how long has this been going on? I know we don't have to know all the details, but at least some important information. Is there a liaison person between the family and the police? Has this person or these group of persons been doing their job properly? Because yesterday, I think it was yesterday, I saw another publication where the family of Ahmed Swale are also complaining that they are not getting the much needed information. When you do that, you clutch at straws. So everything that comes out there, you end up following it. Is it the truth? Do we know if that's actually what's happened? on Saturday, we all heard in the evening bodies have been found. Some went to an extent of saying it was the girls. Can you imagine how the family felt if that was the first time they were hearing it? And then the police came out with a press release that ended up saying we didn't know whether it was human remains, whether it was skulls, whether it's skeletons. You know what I'm saying? And then yesterday we heard there's a fourth body. Now they're asking for DNA. The family are now saying they do not even trust the police to do the job properly. They don't want them to do the DNA. I have always said I have absolute confidence in the if we start doubting the police, I mean, as a nation, we are doomed if we do not have faith in our security agencies. Because for almost all of us, when we have a situation, our immediate call is the police. They're the first persons we run to. If we start thinking, oh, they are not going to be able to help me, where do we go to? So the first thing that I've always said is that we need to have confidence in them. If we have to have that confidence in them, they also need to meet us halfway. Last night when they found is it a fourth body, is it remains? Someone also said to me that area used to be an old cemetery.
Okay.
Yes, which has been reclaimed. Could it be that these are old skulls that are coming up? You know, when they did the reclamation, is it also another one? When you do that, you open everyone to speculation. I can sit here and say what I want to say. You can also say what you want to say. But at the end of the day, we need the information. We need to know. The police need to give the family some sort of reassurance.
Yes.
I know it's not an easy time for them, and it's easier for me to sit here and say if they could please bear with the police also. Sometimes out of frustration, you end up saying something that, also contradicts them or also puts the work in jeopardy, with all due respect. So if there's a liaison person, the police need to ensure that at every step of the way, even if you don't have information for them, you need to pay them a visit. You need to talk to them. You need to, do they even have psychologists with them? And these are all things that I'm asking because we right now there's another school of thought that okay, at the end of the day they are going to come back and say these are the bodies of the girls.
Yes. Which is what the family is suggesting.
Which and they are saying no, we don't want that because somewhere in there too, the main suspect in custody is also saying the girls are alive. It's not them. So is he leading them on a wild goose chase, taking them round? If it's not, and if these bodies are not the girls, are these also people that have been missing or have been killed or have, it also raises another point. So we are going to think that okay, it wasn't the girl. So there are 4 dead bodies out there who we do not know even who they are. That's also a whole new investigation altogether. So moving forward, there's been mistakes and I'm sure they've learned from it. But there's still a lot to be done. At the end of the day, bottom line, we need to know where the girls are. That's the bottom line for everyone. Would like to see them on air with you now or someday soon, saying these are the girls, families, these are your beloved relatives. If, God forbid, for any other reason, there is also another alternative scenario, which is not what we hoped and prayed for. Are they prepared for that? The police need to go a little extra. Maybe they are.
Have you seen enough commitment from the police, though?
I would say in some aspects, yes. And then in some other, I think communication has been the major gap for them. Communication. There's been a communication gap somewhere. But as to their work, I'm not a forensics person or I'm not qualified enough. It's what they are telling us that we are using to judge them. And for now, what they are telling us, we wish for something more, something that would assure the general populace. Because looking at this, there are also other people out there who are thinking, so are we safe? We need that assurance. Yes, you are safe. Worry not. It still doesn't take away the fact that somebody is missing out there. Day in and day out, we hear of stories of people going missing. But there's been an information gap somewhere. And professionalism. I mean, the police are here to assure us and give us something. A little bit of information that I also gathered from Takoradi. At some point, I think whoever was liaising with the family did not, or the first person the police, the family got to, also created some friction. So from the word go, the family and the police had a little misunderstanding somewhere. They are the main people. They are the immediate people they need to be talking to,
Yeah.
they need to be reassuring before us, the general public. So something, if it's going on, we don't know, but there has to be a stop somewhere, or they can say to them, please, before you issue a statement or before you talk to someone, can we have your liaison person or the person who's in charge of dealing with you there, so that you follow steps. And then the police to make sure that the information you are bringing out assures us. Just don't leave it out there, so that we all sit down and, you know, run our mouths or say whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Joyce,
Yes,
so all the happenings so far, what do we make of all of this?
Well, thank you very much for having me. Good morning to you, and good morning, Amma. You know, I'm an Amma too, so when you have us both, it's almost like having two personalities and just simply representing different political parties. And of course, good morning to all those who are watching us this morning, and to Akosia, whom I've gotten used to meeting on the platform.
Yes, Cozy. Hello,
Absolutely,
wherever
yes,
you are
exactly.
this morning. I hope you're
So,
fine.
Very, very good morning to you all out there. You know, this is a very, very, very unfortunate development. I believe that on this platform and on many other platforms, we have had cause to discuss at length how the matter of the kidnapping, especially in regards of what happened in Takoradi in the Western region, has been handled by leadership, handled by society, and even the manner in which our lead investigative bodies have actually handled this matter. It's been well over 7 months, if my records are right, probably close to a year since those people disappeared. And for us to suddenly be told that some bodies which are possibly believed to have been the bodies of the kidnapped girls in Takoradi may have been found, that remains have been discovered somewhere at a location that we are not even very, very certain of. I was particularly taken aback by the very initial reports that the bodies were found to have been tampered with. When you look at the science that is associated with decomposition and decomposing bodies, when you judge by the particular catchment area, location where they purportedly found these bodies, it leaves a lot for you to really start to wonder about the level of commitment, the level of training, and above all, the capacity of our investigative bodies and the investigations even that we normally carry out when such crimes occur. I will be very, 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 very surprised, and Ghanaians would actually be remiss if we want to believe that you can discover bodies nearly 7 months to a year after they disappeared. In fact, we cannot even establish time of death. Nobody knows when those kids passed, whether it was immediately after they were kidnapped,
or if they've even passed.
Even they've passed.
Yeah.
It is most unfortunate, a very, very, very needless development. A matter that I think we must show more leadership. You know, sometimes I follow the debates about whether or not it's time for us to have an independent police service. I look forward to a government that will have the boldness so to do, because then it would allow for better monitoring, closer supervision, etc. You know, sometimes when you look at our security services, the manner in which we have polarized them, thanks to our very, very polarized political environment, even they are not immune to the permutations of our politics. And so sometimes you'd find that even they get caught up in it. Surprisingly, one of the schools of thought actually had it that this was a diversionary tactic to try and avoid discussions or discourse on the matter of the power distribution services company that come out. And I found it, I found it particularly,
absurd.
Very absurd. And I said, what sort of, how did we arrive here? So, you know, my heart goes out to the families that have cried, that have wept, that have called on the powers that be to help them bring closure to this matter. Normally, even in law, we would say that if in about 48 hours you do not find a missing person who has been reported lost, it means then that the trail will definitely go cold.
Yeah.
7 months down the line, I'm not even sure what trail you're going to be following, really, if there's even a trail that you can follow.
But you also know that...
I pray that it is not the bodies.
Yeah.
I pray that some further tests will be carried out, some forensic examination of the remains that have been discovered, and that it will definitely not pan out as we've all been told. I know that people are readily mourning. People are very disappointed in the manner in which it's been handled. I believe largely, and I think Amma espoused that beautifully, that information flow has been a very, very big challenge. Communication is important. Transparency is equally important. Keeping the closest family involved in the process would actually help stem whatever suspicions they have, whatever anxieties they have. I think that even this public itself, this has generated enormous public interest.
Yeah.
It could be either one of us. It could be our relatives. It could be our children. So people want to know how the police would handle these things in future. It is very difficult for you to say that crimes will not be committed, that crimes will not occur.
Yeah.
But when they do occur, how do we handle them? Now, somehow, you are inclined to feed into the rumor that with the case of the Canadian young women in Ashanti region in particular, that they may have gotten some further support from somewhere. That closure was brought very quickly because indeed the Canadian government brought enormous pressure to bear. We are even reliably informed that the persons had some gadgets that may have enabled the police track them and do so effectively. In this case, these were young people who were just going about their normal business and then were suddenly reported missing. An alleged kidnapper has actually been arrested and arraigned before court, and some charges have been proffered. I don't even recall that the video clippings that we saw, that they even walked there with the alleged offender. I don't recall. So who actually told them about this so-called grave or whatever it is? How did they know?
What happened?
Was there a tip-off?
A tip-off,
And how was the information because I watched
part of the backstory is that the police went there on a
totally different mission.
A different mission.
Yes.
And then when they got there, one of the officers said, "Look, why don't we try excavating, one of the septic tanks because of an older case."
Are you saying that
the guy lived there?
Absolutely.
No
search was carried out.
No search was carried out. The search was only carried out in the house. They didn't,
absolutely.
They didn't extend it.
And
it seems that's what probably happened.
David, we have these sniffer dogs even at the airport.
Yeah.
That sniff at our handbags when we're leaving.
Yeah.
They are trained to detect all sorts of things.
Yeah, so
scenes and all
absolutely.
that.
So then the question about the commitment of the police to actually investigating then comes to the fore, because it's like you have sniffer dogs, you have the option of sniffer dogs. You just all the girls have families. They all have clothes at home and items. They sniff it. You put them out there. They are on the hunt. So
I do know that there are even private security companies that are very well trained dogs that do these things. They give them to the mining company.
The first time and he didn't come up with it. You see, that's the point that I'm saying. That lack of information. Right now is a case for public interest. It's just being the family alone. So we need to know. Coming out with press releases to tell us, what's going on. Yes, fine, but. Maybe since that time where Madam Tiwa came out to, give that assurance, they're a little bit skeptical. That's why all we get is press releases and little bits of information. But I'd like to see them go a step further to, another press conference doesn't spoil anything. It doesn't mean that you don't know your job. You found out more. You are telling us this is it. Right now, what do we know? Are there bodies? Are there skulls? They are telling us that DNA is going to be ready in a month. Now the family are saying they don't even want to join. If the family doesn't join you, how are you going to
get the DNA?
To get the DNA to give us that information.
Do you think that this process has in any way even inspired confidence in
That's
the work
what I'm saying. That
the fear of the families is that once you go into DNA, you are sentencing our children
to death. You are telling us that that's what they don't want to know.
In any case, the initial investigations have not even been concluded. No conclusions were arrived at. And sometimes I say one thing. In leadership, sometimes it's okay to admit that you made an error. that you spoke too soon, that you arrived at conclusions that were unfounded, that you do need to reopen the investigation, that the matter of having discovered these bodies has actually thrown all your initial, expectations out, and that you're going to start all over. You retrace your steps, you track down every possible witness, you will go back to the community, you would even search further the environment. Because like they said, it even used to be a cemetery. It could be a possible discovery of maybe very old graves.
Yeah.
So why don't we have the CID or the police or whoever is in charge of this investigation? I think Madame Tiwa is a professional. I think that she has a job to do. I think the public outcry was enough to cause her to make certain pronouncements, albeit premature, knowing what we know now. I think there's nothing wrong. We just actually appearing to be a little bit more humane and admitting that mistakes were made, that you have since had time to review the files. Look, you watch these crime and investigation channels and tracks that have gone
20 years.
And
then you come back and you think, wow.
In other parts of the world, you can never commit a perfect crime.
I know, and I've seen crimes that are being investigated after 20 years. They are going back with sniffer dogs after 20 years.
I mean, you've had people who have been in jail for committing murder that have been released on basis of new evidence that have come out. So a trail never goes cold or anything. They might leave it, but as day in, day out, new information comes up. They decide to, test the law further, and then they get more results. So Ghana, please, we have absolute confidence in you, but we are pleading also that kindly let the information be a little on point, flow for us, so that the family can have their peace of mind. Now, right now, you need to win back their confidence. That's also another thing you have to do, because apart from the Ghana Police, I don't think we have major security agencies that might have a lot of trained personnel than the Ghana Police. You are a whole force out there. So if you can, I know you can do it, but please.
What do we expect of Madam Tiwa?
I expect her to at least render a certain qualified, albeit a conditional, expression of some remorse. It would actually cast her in very good light. If I were her private advisor, I would advise her to just engage the public, at least retract some of those statements that were made. There's nothing wrong. Even witnesses are allowed to go back to court and try and take back whatever evidence you've given, cancel it because other things have come up. You have actually refreshed your memory. You have new evidence, whatever. Right. It is just, you see,
thank you.
The police relationship with the public is something we need to work on.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, we're going to take a short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. And we want to talk about free SHS. So because the director of IEA has been making comments to this, concerning this, saying that we should allow parents who are capable of paying to actually make payments to relieve the government of the burden. As it stands now, the government is spending approximately 453 million Ghana cedis every year on free SHS. It's constraining the government from being able to spend on other developmental projects and so on. Now, this is what he said. Others have also made comments to this effect. Patrick Ewa has spoken, Professor Ernest Aide has also spoken, and they're all alluding to the fact that if we allow capable parents to pay for their children, then let only those who really need the help from government to be taken care of by government. We can still run the scheme as it stands without necessarily putting the government in a bit of a bind. I want to start with Joyce on this.
Well, thank you very much. Each time we start a debate on education generally, it takes you back to many, many years ago at one of the very popular and very much televised IEA debates, where there was a debate between then candidate John Dramani Mahama and now president candidate Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. And I do recall that the debate actually hinged on whether or not Ghana was ready to fully implement free senior high school as requested by the Constitution, or whether or not we're going to be implementing progressively free senior high school. At the time, I recall that obviously the progressively free senior high school debate won the day. The reasons were very simple and straightforward. The idea was that first and foremost, let's work on quality, let's improve access, let's build more infrastructure, let's consider teacher motivation, let's look at teacher training, let's look at improving the teacher to student ratios, let's focus on feeding, and in fact provide basic amenities that everybody believed would work very hard, not just to give people a basic education, but would at least give people an education worthy of a student's life, an education worthy of giving you the right job, an education that tailors you and your mind for the future that lies ahead of you. Recall that the FQ, which was a free universal basic education, was actually being fully implemented at the basic level.
Okay.
And so building on infrastructure, improving teacher to student ratios, generally improving all the other aspects that give you the quality of education that we expect, that we anticipate as a people, had to be in place. Note that former President Rawlings always made a statement about the numbers of young children, not just at the basic level, but also at the secondary level, that there were huge numbers. Currently, the numbers are even larger. I've forgotten, I don't know if you can check on how many children are currently in the senior high school system. And to think that government expends 453 million Ghana cedis annually on free senior high school. What we have discovered in recent times is that the basic level is suffering because all the focus has shifted onto the senior high school. Note also that the qualifications for entry level into senior high schools were also further reduced. But what is happening now is that a student now has WASSCE results, probably ends up with an elective subject that he or she has a D9 in. Take, for example, elective mathematics, or English for that matter, or one of the science subjects. The university would then say that you can only come in if you're going to accept the fee-paying option. Even that one, it is on condition that better qualified students are not available to take the slots that are available.
But this is only at the tertiary level.
That is at the tertiary. But whatever happens at the basic level dovetails into what happens at the senior high school level. Same will be replicated at the university level. We have a chain. There is a linkage at all stages of our educational lives. Above all, the system has a way of sifting through those who do well, those who can be competitive, and those who are not. You know, this debate has raged on for a very long time. Everything that needs being done needs to be done and done well. It needs to be done and done effectively. Look, I don't think that all of the people who are speaking, albeit mutedly, about the challenges associated with the current implementation. Remember that government itself has admitted that they did not adequately think through that the implementation has struggled, that there is a need for them to generate a certain blueprint. I remember President Mahama even discussing the possibility of a stakeholder engagement and joining all people who have a say or voice in that particular sector, a sector very critical to our development, to come in and on board to discuss ways of implementing effectively and efficiently the free senior high school policy. Note that the current finance minister, Honorable Ken Oforiatta, even expressed the view that he was happy and willing to pay for his kids because, one, he could afford to do so and pay for others. I know that there were always debates about the Northern free education, but even for those of us who are second and third generation Northern students or children, for parents who could pay, they never took advantage of those scholarships. And if kids came up to any other part of Ghana besides the northern region, note that they always paid fees. So there's always been this quid pro quo. There's been a certain equitable way of ensuring that there is a balance, that those parents who can afford, who can pay, are allowed to pay. For those who are unable so to do, the system has a way of finding ways to support them. Remember that secondary schools even had a policy of taking children from the communities in which the schools were located, even where these children had not necessarily qualified adequately.
Yeah.
They would still be engaged because it was part of a community service.
Yeah.
They also took bright and brilliant children from other schools. Remember that the common entrance system had a way of generating exams for all students across the country, and then the selections were made. You had the first choice, second choice, and third choice. All of these things were measures and ways of making sure that there was leverage for every student of school-going age. We no longer have that. What we have now is, look, go to some of the so-called Ivy League schools. When you hear the stories about the challenges that even teachers have.
You mean our Ivy League schools in Ghana?
In Ghana.
Okay.
Oh, no, not certainly. This conversation is very localized.
Yeah.
Looking at the numbers, it leaves a lot to be desired. The number of teachers that we require is woefully inadequate. Now with the licensure exams, even some of the qualified teachers are unable to start teaching immediately because you must first and foremost pass this exam that has been introduced. Look, we want to have as much as possible an almost zero illiteracy ratio in Ghana. It is a laudable thing. There is nothing wrong with it. But do we want to have semi-literates or illiterates to fill what jobs, to undertake what future careers, to be engaged in what? Look, even for the police service, where we still need numbers. What do they tell you? You must have certain basic qualifications. Are we just now looking at a free SHS that allows everybody to go into secondary school? But remember, we are just shifting our challenges further. We now have many unemployed graduates, most of whom will never make their way even into NAPCO or into YE or any of these short-term government interventions. Our economy has remained largely unchanged. Where do you absorb? Look, generally, Ghanaian young people do not want to go into farming. Certainly not. Ghanaian young people are very aspirational. And now with the incidence of social media, people are very ambitious.
No, but
so if we all end up...
Is that not a conversation that should be had separately in the sense of, if you're saying Ghanaian young people are aspirational, it means that, it suggests that farming isn't an aspirational
For some people
vocation.
it will always be, for others it's not. But for the generality, as I said, if I come out of university with a good degree, my first option, except I come from a background of farming or an environment of people who are engaged, not just maybe in the tendering of land per se, but in the logistics and the other facets of agriculture. That is different. But if you look at it generally, most people out of university, for example, want to have a white-collar job. They want to be like you, sit here very beautifully on a morning and interview us and have these conversations. But let's get back to the table. Look, IEA is one of the key foremost civil society organizations. Imani Ghana, CDD, many of these bodies have spoken at length about this matter. Secondly, we also have other key stakeholders who have spoken at length about this matter. We have educators, such as the Chancellor of Sakyi, who has spoken at length. This is the gentleman who has set up the foremost training institute. I will not call it a university, because it molds and shapes young people's futures. It matters to him the types of senior high school graduates that government institutions or government will be generating, because some of them will find their way into these higher institutions of learning. It matters what the basic education facilities have and how we intend to see them. Government itself has admitted that there is a need for more infrastructure, that there is a need for more teachers, that there's even an important need, because NAT has complained about a lack of teacher motivation.
Hold your thought there. I'll come back to you. Let me hear from Amma. Your finance minister says, our finance minister, he says free SHS could be targeted instead of wholesale. Why are we here? How did we get to this place where many stakeholders are now saying, maybe not now, but they've been saying that let's stop this wholesale, everybody should go for free. Nobody should pay anything at all. No parent should pay anything at all. But there's a lot of pressure on government. The finances that are being spent on free SHS is humongous.
You cannot put a price on education.
Fair enough.
Yes.
But you can decide.
Of course, you can decide to put some premium on it. That's okay. Like Dr. Kwachi of the IE is saying, and a lot of other people have made this call. But the President, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, made a promise to the people of Ghana that if and when you give me your votes and I'm elected, I will bring this policy of free senior high school for every qualified child in Ghana. That was his mandate, or that's his mandate, and that's what he's doing at the moment. It's been 2017, 2018, we are going into the third year of it. Even when we changed from common entrance to BEC up till now, we're still facing challenges there. It is not a one-day stop gap. It's been going on from there. And with the challenges, every government that has come in has tried to improve upon it. We are 3 years into it. These are some of the issues that have come up. Is it to say that the government must go back to the drawing board and think about it? Is that what the president wants to do? At this moment, no. He hasn't said that.
But maybe he should say that at this time. Maybe he should look at it again and say, look, it's still free SHS, but the stakeholders are agitating. Some parents are even saying that, right?
You see, now one thing that's going to happen. Let me just go to a basic. If I determine that I can afford to pay for free SHS for my child, and my child has gone into school, is it to say that this particular parent that's paying has more input into what happens in the school? Is this parent able to go and say that, look, because we are paying, we're a select group of people that we are paying our kids' fees, so we expect this for them, don't lump them in? Is that going to create a certain class issue there? That is what he sought to cut out. Because look at it, there were lots of kids who had passed, genuinely passed, but for lack of funds, they were home. Now they all have the opportunity to study in these same Ivy League schools that you and I may be able to afford for our kids. Level playing field. If you start giving assurances or giving issues where they say, okay, if you can afford to pay, this is your school fees. You come in at the end of the week, your kid says to you, Mom, Dad, we are not satisfied with this. Are you going to go to the teacher and say, oh, because I have paid my kids' school fees, I don't expect them to be in a dorm? I'm just going through all that. So we have given every child an opportunity now. If it's a question of let's talk about funding and see if allowing parents who can afford to pay to do that, I think the onus lies on the president. He's not immune to change. I mean, this is a listening government. If that's what has to be done, I'm sure we'll get there and that conversation will be had. Is that what the majority of Ghanaians want? Majority of Ghanaians or the whole of Ghana have applauded this. Are we ready for them to come back and say, okay, now that we are here, this is where we should cut the line. Somebody gets to pay. What if because I have money and I'm able to pay, won't that also be an incentive where I'm able to go through the back channels because I want my child to go to a particular school and I have the funding. I'm able to pay and influence.
Yeah.
What we want now is every child that has the opportunity. In the last looking at the last 2 years and the numbers, we've seen how high it's gone. Because now other kids who may never have had that opportunity now see. There are people who have even stayed home for like 2 years prior to that, who have also gone back, done the rewrites and gone in, because it gives them an opportunity. Like Joyce said, maybe not all kids want to go into farming. But if you are able to go in, if you come from an agricultural background, we are saying that if you are able to even get to the SHS level, you are able to help your family with more innovative ideas, more logistics. You can sit down with mom and dad and say, okay, this is what it says on here. You have to put 2 bags of fertilizer, or this is the numbers you are supposed to add. It gives them more advantage of helping them. It all grows the economy. Not every child that finishes SHS wants a white collar job. Some of them, the entrepreneurial spirit is actually creeping in on us. You see lots of even university graduates who have gone out of their way to start doing their own things. And we have all, I take a lady that I take a lot of inspiration from, Sims. She does all these bags and stuff like that. She went to school, she did all her education. She's using that to promote the entrepreneurial spirit. She employs other people as well, which is good. So if we are giving every child that opportunity, no one is saying it's a bad thing. I've not heard anyone say that. But if there's a further debate that needs to go out there, this is still at a toddling age. Free SHS is still a toddler. We are now moving on. Are we going to disrupt the status quo now, or do we need to go further? Or is it that it needs to be disrupted for that? I think that's also another roundtable discussion that needs to be had. But we all know that in Ghana, the power rests with the executive or the president. At this point in time, this is what Mr. President says. I would like every child to go in and have it. When Joyce talked about infrastructure, all the secondary schools, I mean, I think Ministry of Education came out, or the GES came out and said, we noticed there were challenges with accommodation, classrooms, facilities, which is what brought about the double track system. But it was a short-term gap measure. So we are going forward now to implement or to make sure that it doesn't continue. Coming September, I'm sure when schools reopen and we get the figures, we are going to know that a lot of the schools are going to go back to the single shifts that they all had, because infrastructure has been put in place. Some schools wanted classrooms, some schools wanted dormitories.
But Amma, is it not time for us to get rid of this boarding school system? Because that already takes away a certain large component of cost.
I am totally for boarding school because of.
But that's just nostalgia.
For my experience,
we're making progress. Let's move forward.
And you know, she makes a very fundamental point.
Which is?
You know that even the boarding school system allows for some parents even to do other things, to even better themselves, to take advanced programs, etc.
So if they go to, you're saying that if they go to boarding, then it frees up
the
parents to be able to.
Do you know child care is something that even in Ghana is definitely not regulated?
It's something that needs to be talked about for intervention.
Yes.
You know, lots of offices don't even have facilities for that. It is a conversation that needs to be had. It's not just going on to secondary school. Even if you are talking about basic school, you see kids as young as 6 months going into creche. Parents have to rush in at 5 a.m. to drop them. What if offices provided that? Now you've had, I'm not saying any parent doesn't want their kids home, but at that time, apart from just the little freedom you get to better yourself or whatever you want to do, it also, every child that goes to secondary school, boarding school, comes back with a different idea of life. They've been sheltered, now they go out there, they meet different people, they adjust, they come home. I would say somebody, a parent was saying to me that until her daughter went to secondary school, she didn't even know that she could wake up early in the morning, make her bed, and do all sorts of things, because she'd lie in, she has to go to school very early, and then she leaves home, mommy will say, oh, lay your bed, and she's rushing out. But secondary school, boarding school in particular, it grooms us. It's the step that takes us into university. I'm all for it. I'm an advocate for it. I think it shaped us a lot. It shaped a whole lot of people. Maybe moving forward, we are going to go into that. Now, another thing that you should take into consideration, when you say day schools, we are going to look at another issue of hostels for families. Because at this point in time that we are talking, reality, almost all our Ivy League schools are out of Accra. That is where parents take their kids to. So if you are taking your child to a school in Cape Coast and you live in Accra, are you saying that you have to go there and find accommodation for them? Who takes care of them there? If you are coming from Tamale to Mota or Achimota, this journey, do you have to rent accommodation for them? Or we are going to have it in such a way in the UK and stuff that
you go to
you
school
target
your
the
area.
schools there.
You go to school within your area.
Joyce was doing the
that will improve
conversation.
the standard of education in all the different areas.
Because it means that you have to improve the school facilities to a certain level to attract parents to bring their kids there. We need to talk about that. It's also a whole different shift, paradigm shift. I would use this for an example where a friend of mine said to me, her daughter is going to Wesley Girls. And then another friend quickly made it, no, Kumasi Wesley Girls, make the distinction there. So I said, well, all Wesley Girls is Wesley Girls. She says, no, it's not possible. So are we going to move all these schools into a setting fundamental, class that they've set up for themselves? If you are going to come into everyone going into day schools, you need to upgrade.
But Amma, a quick point that we need to make also.
We need to move on.
Just a quick one. I think basically, no matter what happens, I think it is time for government, it's time for His Excellency the President to at least pay heed to some of the criticisms that are coming. You see, whatever it does, it can only make it better.
That's
I
what
think
I'm
that
saying.
is the conversation that we really need to focus on.
Is the President willing to make...
because if you remember, double track they said was going to end and it was going to start.
With him. If at this point in time, he says to his finance minister, who has reservations about it, that still I want it to go on this way, but we need to find the money, or there has to be money made available. And I think the money has been available. Feeding, everything is going on. Infrastructure is being...
Even feeding is a big problem.
Please, we can go on with this one.
We'll spend the whole day
let me just read a few
one.
messages that our viewers have brought us. Molanyo in Akwetia says, though we understand the plight of the families of the kidnapped Tadi girls and sympathize with them, they are dictating too much and making it difficult for the security agencies. I pray for the ladies to be brought back alive to end all of this. From Dr. Aide in Kwadaso, he says, the police should allow the arrested kidnapper to give a vivid account of the whereabouts of the kidnapped Takoradi girls rather than these publications. I also urge the police to apply integrity in their searches. Free SHS is a good policy, but the implementation approach is problematic. The policy provides opportunity to every Ghanaian child who sat BECE to enroll whether they passed or failed. What then is the essence of BECE? I think we need to rethink as a nation the policy and do the future of our nation good. This is coming from Aaron in Yendi. All right, last topic. We have barely a minute and a half, so I'll give you 1 minute each to just give your comments on this running story. NAM1 has finally been released, and he's out there now. People are happy because they feel that him being released means they are going to get their monies. Are they going to get their monies, Joyce?
Well, right now, it would be difficult for me to respond positively, either yes or no. It would be a difficult response to give. In all of this morning driving here, I asked myself, but you see, people said he was taking deposits of gold bars. We haven't seen any. We haven't had any account being given that people have even seen what they were investing in.
Yeah.
I remember how matters to do with DKM were heavily politicized. How do we now reduce to very personal issues? I see the struggle by government and all of its representatives to try and make this appear as a private investor who is gone into trouble, that people have mischievously and wrongly invested in the business. But of course, the buck stops with government. They were licensed to carry these operations. People knew and they were monitoring what was going on. We saw the rather round, hugely amazing investments that he was making in all sorts of spheres of our lives. We saw the corporate social responsibility efforts to try and permeate the public system, and there were no questions asked. I even wondered sometimes, where is GRA? In all of this, how much tax has been paid to the state? I watched what was actually put out even as the bail bond. Huge punitive conditions for a bail. And by a circuit court, surprisingly. And then to even hear days later that he has been able to meet the bail bond.
Yeah.
And he's actually out
with
of
5
bail.
sureties.
And even have his public relations
I think with
person
2 or
be
3
able to
justified.
tell us boldly that he is tired and needs rest.
Yeah, I was just going to ask.
Many have gone bankrupt.
Does he need any? Should he be given any rest? He's been resting
Until
in
you
jail.
have repaid
He's
what
been
you have
resting in jail for
illegally.
well, not
acquired
jail,
and
but
taken.
you know,
Yes.
police custody. He's been resting for the last 2 weeks.
The people that have their deposits with them, they've demonstrated from day one. The man is out, he's telling them that he needs rest. If they are happy that he should rest before giving them their money, that's their own cup of
In fact,
tea.
if I were in their shoes, I'll be picketing right now.
Of all the picketing that they've done,
Yeah.
now he's out and he's able to say, his PRO is saying that, oh yes, he's out, he'll sort it out, but he needs rest first. And these same people who have been on government and been to the court to picket free NAM1, free NAM1 are not saying anything. It means they are not even in a hurry to, because if I was a victim of NAM1 and he said to me he needs rest, I'll be out there telling him, man, you cannot rest. You need to give me my money. In other good news too, the Accra Traffic Management Center has been launched.
Really?
Yes.
In fact, when she was talking about boarding house plenty, that was one thing I was going to come and say.
That
But
the
imagine
traffic-
the kind of traffic, the chaos that will be actually
with the
reduced
basic
to,
schools
even
and
with the
school
basic
runs.
schools and all the schools runs
Don't
that
you
they
cry
have.
sometimes?
And you
Where
see,
I live in
Amma,
Amasaman, and there's major roadworks there.
So they should go to school so that we can be
I
free
always
in town.
believed in this traffic
school is
management
great.
and
Ladies,
monitoring.
we've run out of
But you
time.
know
We have to
something?
go. We can converse after the show.
We really need to stop.
Thank you very much for
creating more
watching
bureaucracies.
this segment of the show. We are going to take a short break. We'll be right back with the next segment. Don't go anywhere.